Hey guys, welcome to a very special interview. I am joined by Benjamin Pope and Dave Brown. They work with, in fact, actually Benjamin Pope owns Live in the Game. It's a video game company, and they make lots of video games for your enjoyment and stuffs for your, your face area that you play with your fingers and you see on screens. They do that. Do you do that? No, you don't do that. They do that. Welcome, guys. Thank you for indulging me and joining me today.
Nice. It's great to be here.
Glad to be here, man.
So, Ben, let's start with you. You have a degree in game design, and typically, after people get their degree in that, they, go work for, Blizzard if they can, or, some other game company. You decided to go the other way. You went and created your own game company. What made you decide to go that route, the road less traveled?
Yeah, so for that, I actually found that my skills in school and then the level that I was at the time I went back to school was actually a more mature level. So I found that I really like to lead things instead of following. So that's one thing that I found when I started getting on other projects, when I first started going to UAT, that I was like, you know what, I think I could probably do this more competently, so I decided to do it myself. It's an old adage, if you want something done right, go do it yourself.
Absolutely, and I imagine there's a lot more creative control over games when you don't have to report to somebody.
Yeah, that's definitely a big perk of going your own way too. Is that especially if you're not underneath a huge company, you're able to have the creative freedom too. So
now on your page it says that you have a background in business and psychology. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so back when I wanted to get into gaming was actually when I was like 5 years old and I wanted to do game design way back. But the programs weren't really developed or split up where they are now into design, art and programming. It was basically, you want to be a game designer, you have to be a programmer. And so when I first went out into college, I wasn't really into it or at the level of, maturity to do it. So I kind of didn't really do well in it. So I decided to go into psychology, which is actually something that I found interesting to me since I always had a good connection with people. So then I went on and went down all the way through master's degree on that, and then actually was a counselor for years. So the psychology was something that I find valuable in anything you do, really.
And then you feel like that you can bring those kind of expertise into your games. Like how do you feel that that the psychology can kind of translate into gaming?
Yeah, so the psychology and business together that I did are really effective for that, because one of the things is, it definitely helps you manage people, and lead people well if you can effectively understand how to do that, and if you understand the psychology of human nature, right? So. And in business, having that, it was able to sell things. Because the one thing, you have to have the skills, you have to connect with people, and then you have to sell your products, right? And your business. So, and then in our game in a studio, our main theme is it's actually having psychology elements to each game. So we have some type of psychological element that runs through the theme. So all of them except for one that I've led with the design will have that element in it.
You founded the company Live in the Game in 2015. How many people did you have on your team initially?
All right, so the initial team was basically made up of people.
Hold on, 1 second. There's a giant spider just hanging in the air right by my face.
That's definitely on the blooper reel.
Oh my god!
Whatever.
Where's the video? Where's the video?
Oh my god! Oh god! Okay, so I'll ask someone again. So you founded the company Live in the Game in 2015. How many people did you have on your team initially?
All right, so for the initial setup with the studio, it was people that I was in class with, so that I was working on projects along, that we initially started. So it's about 7 people at the beginning.
And then did they stay on, because now you have about 20 to 25, you say, across the country. Did the initial 7 stay on? Or?
So actually about 4 of those stayed on. Life happens, so different people transition other things. But actually most of the people that we have now, except for the new people that we're just getting in recently, have actually been on for more than 2 years. So actually a lot of the people have stayed on for the long haul.
Very nice. And they're all around the country, say, and even internationally. Do you find that makes things a little bit more difficult as far as communication goes, or just working together?
Yeah, I would say it's the time zones, which are a pain. So if we know about time zones, it's really annoying, unless you're in Arizona or Alaska. or they decide not to do that. So with the daylight savings time and all that. So with the time zones, it's a 7 hours difference between one guy that I'm dealing with. Another guy is about 10 hours. So in order to set up meetings and coordinate things, luckily we have the technology now in order to do it, quickly with emails and messaging. But if you want to actually communicate directly, it is a challenge because you have to adjust your schedule. And one of the most difficult things in life is coordinating more than one person together to do things. So, that I found in my experience. So it's definitely something, if you go internationally, it's going to be a challenge.
Do you find it do you find it more challenging, or is it like herding cats? Is it, how do you think it's as difficult as it should be, or,
Well, with the technology, that we have, and all the abilities to message and all, those tools, it makes it a lot easier, especially when you have a repository or like Google Drive or things that you can put your files in, so that way you don't have to actually physically have someone bring it to you. So we do live in a good time, right, to be able to do that. So that way we don't have to all be in the same building anymore. We can, hey guys, you're over in Europe, all right, cool, no problem. So I mean, it's not as bad as it definitely was in the past. So.
I was going to say it'd be very difficult to get everything done with faxes and carrier pigeons and whatnot.
Pigeons, yeah. Thank God we moved on from that.
Back in my day. So you started in Tempe, Arizona, and then you moved the company out to Denver, Colorado. Now, what made you decide to make the move?
Yeah, so it's actually a girlfriend, so I moved in with her. So that's why I moved out to Denver. But I used to live in Durango in the Four Corners area in the past, so I'm definitely familiar with Colorado, but I've never lived in Denver. But it's actually the hub of the gaming in Colorado, so it's it also makes a good business sense to move in order to branch out too. So
so now you have one game that's published now, which we will get to in a minute. But I noticed you have currently 5 games in development. Are these just concepts, or is the team actively developing each of these products?
Yeah, so each of the projects. One thing that I found is when I first started Mirrored, which is our first title, it was a really big game. So I was like, hey guys, we should probably do other things in between that to release things while we're waiting for this large game to be finished. So all the projects are actually currently under development at different stages. So we have alphas and betas of each one, and and then each one has manpower on it. So.
And do you feel like with each lesson, learned, I mean, you have games like Grand Theft Auto 5, they learned how to, make the mechanics for that with Max Payne 3. Do you feel like each time you kind of, come to a new mechanic that you're working on one game that it kind of lends to the other and it helps build each one up?
Well, for each game experience, what we're shooting for is to have, each one be unique in its own right. So if you look at all the games that we have, each one is like completely different. Like they're all like unique and the psychological theme carries through all of them, but with each mechanic and each lesson that we learn with one game, especially when we released the first one, we learned a lot of things. So it's always a learning curve that you're learning, and you always get new things that come in where you're like, I didn't know about that. So I need to use this lesson in the next game release, or in the next game development, and to help that team better. So you actually, it's always key to learn from your mistakes and don't repeat them if you can, as you're going through, in the game development process. So the game mechanics, since each one is in its own right unique, they're all going to be different, but we want to take the lessons you learned from, like the game engines, or, you learn from different things that would carry over, like art, or that. So, anything that you find that you could fix, go fix it.
Now, the 5 games you have in development are Mirrored Game, which is the one you mentioned. Now, I saw that. I love the isometric kind of nature to it. It's a puzzle adventure about what do you say that I'm not looking for a confirmed release date, but what would you say you guys are at as far as development for that one? Because that one looks very exciting to play.
Yeah, so Mirrored is the first one that we started with when I was down at school, and that's been in production the longest. That one we're actually looking to release an official demo, this summer, so it should be out in July 2017.
Oh, very cool. And then the other one is you're working with VR with Model Weapons Expert. Now, I was looking at the gameplay video for that. I mean, on the surface, it looks like a shooting gallery. But I noticed in the description, you kind of added a little bit more story to it. A soldier who was dealing with
PTSD.
That's it. I don't know why I blanked on that for a second. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah,
game?
so Model Weapons Expert is our first 3D game. only 3D. And so what it does is it takes PTSD and deals with it in kind of a humorous spin. So the inspiration came from Full Metal Jacket, because I love Kubrick, and then also Surgeon Simulator. So because I really like the ability to grab things and actually manipulate them. But we're doing it in a little bit more of a serious note because it's, we're tying in PTSD with that. So the guy is actually a weapons expert, and he retires from the Army.
Uh-huh.
So he's going to have some of that coming back with his drill sergeant. So it deals with stress mechanics and then the assembly mechanics of the weapons in order to increase your reputation. So it's very hands-on, and we're actually going to be looking at, right now we're doing a PC version of it, where you're going to be using the mouse and then the keys, but then we're also looking at an Oculus Rift version, so you'll be able to fully immerse yourself into the game.
What about a little PlayStation VR? Do you think you might try to get on that platform, or is that a difficult, company to work with?
Well, actually, the difference between what we found is, with all the different dev platforms like Steam, Google, Play, Amazon, Apple, all those, when you're dealing with PC, is a little bit more straightforward. When you get to console, which is actually one of the things that we're looking at down the line, is to get into console dev, status. So then we can actually release it on that. But with PlayStation and Nintendo and all the main consoles, you have to go through a little bit more steps in order to get that done. Yeah, and you have to do a lot more things in order to jump on there.
The next one is Puppet Master Demon Reclamation. Now, the story for this sounds really, really cool. I didn't see any screenshots. Could you tell us a little more about that one?
Yeah, so actually Puppet Master Demon Reclamation is a game that we've had on the side for a little while, just because, when you have so many, you want to focus on getting the main ones done. So, but it's definitely one that we're going to be putting some efforts into getting worked on. That game started as a game jam game about a year and a half ago. So it's going to be a mobile game, and it's going to deal with two kids who actually, their family has a relic, and then the puppet master steals it, right? So they actually have to go transform into puppets. So they go into a world like a marionettes. So it's going to focus a lot on the physics of marionette battles. So it's going to be actually on the stage. So if you think about a theater, they're actually going to be on the stage there, and so it's going to really focus on the battle mechanics, where you have the arms swaying and the strings. So that's what we're looking at focusing on. And then that will be on mobile too. So
do you find it's easier to develop for mobile than it is PC? Or just is it the audience?
It really depends on the type of mobile you're doing. So, it's all about the interface of how the game is going to play. So some games really tailor themselves well to mobile with the point, touchscreen interface. And then so it's really how you're playing the game that depends on what's going to be easier. So PC, if you're going to be using a mouse and you want to do it that way, that's definitely the way to go, So it really comes down to gameplay. That's what you want to focus on. What are the person going to do? What are the people going to be doing in the game? How are they going to be, interfacing with it? That's how you want to determine which one you want to go. So for the mobile development, one of the lessons that I've learned with doing on multiple platforms for it is that you really, and also with PC, is looking at each one, because each specific one is different, and they all have different requirements. So one of the keys is like learning each of that right when you first release your first game. That's going to be the key thing. Like, what does everyone have? What do they need? And then from there on, it actually makes it easier to release games once you get your first one out. So. And
then the last one is, the last in development is Rye Reveries. Am I saying that right? Oh, I've been really worried that I was going to mess that one up.
Yeah.
Rye Reveries. Perfect. Could you tell me about that one?
Yeah, so Rye Reveries is a throwback to the old point-and-click adventure games that got me into game design. Sierra Online was my inspiration to get into gaming. King's Quest, Space Quest, all the Quest games, and there's a solid company. So I wanted to go back to that and throw some retro gaming in. So it's going to be like a combination of the old point and click, but with new story elements, obviously new interfaces. Each one's going to follow an episodic gameplay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take historical figures like Edgar Allan Poe. He's one of my favorite writers of all time. Just amazing. So I wanted to take these historical figures because you really don't need to, it's all public use at that time. So if you're using any works from them, you don't need it it's all free, right, at this point, because it's been so many years since they've been around. So I want to follow each one in their own episodic tale. Rye Reveries means humorous dreams. So that's actually what it means. So each of them is going to tie, we're going to tie in reality, so like fact from their works, but combination of like a hybrid with Dream. So we have the Dream gameplay where they follow quests and allows for a lot more fantastical events to happen, but we're also going to link it simultaneously with their real works from their life too. So the first one will follow Edgar Allan Poe, and then the second one we're actually going to follow another figure. So it'll be an episodic series that's going to go on.
That's really. I mean, are the stories going to tie in together, or are these just singular adventures that are just kind of separate?
There'll be singular adventures that are separate because I like to. For me, I really like episodic gameplay, like with Telltale games where they have just that one episode and you have closure at the end, and then you move on to the next one. So each one's just going to follow that character and wrap it up, and then follow to the next one.
Is it going to be a similar style? I mean, I know you mentioned King's Quest, but with the episodic, is it going to be specifically like that? Are there going to be alternate endings, kind of like a Telltale game, or is it just one singular story, linear adventure?
Yeah, so for that, we're going to have the adventure. I mean, there will be different options as far as you go through the game, as far as interacting with people and doing the quests. So you will have different choices, but for me, I definitely like the quest games where they have that definite ending, where you have like, okay, boom, that's it, we get it done. So that way we can, tell that tale and kind of go on from there.
Dave, now you are in charge of social media and marketing. Do you find that it's difficult to kind of, market and social media games for a smaller company that might not have the, the name recognition of an Activision or something like that?
Yeah, definitely. I guess the hardest part is coming up with a formula that's actually going to get out, that way people see it. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're doing the podcast with you. That way we can get our name out there. Ben does events in his, in his area with the schools. He did the DU Arcade with Denver University. I don't remember if you mentioned that, but doing that. So we've been posting pictures from that. That I would say the hard part is not having all the time in the world to do it. I think I mentioned that to him last night. It's like, I wish I had 40 hours to just quit my job and do this for you. You know what I mean?
That would be great.
If I could make time, that would be awesome. I think that's the biggest challenge.
Would you say then that there's kind of more work required because you have to kind of, get on multiple platforms? You have to, do all the social media rather than just a couple and kind of rely on namesake. Because I mean, I looked at the site and the games look great. They look fun. They look just as good as any other game on the market. But breaking into this industry, I imagine that it is very difficult to kind of gain the trust of people and bring them into your media.
Yeah, so that's a luxury of having other people too. There's another person, Lydia. She also helps with the marketing. I believe there is one more person that we have, Ben?
Yeah, there will be another person coming on.
There will be. Okay, that's right. I remember that conversation. So yeah, we're going to have 3 people. Lydia does the Twitter account, so she runs all the, Twitter stuff. Anything Twitter related, she does the postings for that. I'm doing the Facebook, and the websites. Yeah, man, it's like I said, the time is more of the challenge than the actual job. You know what I mean?
Let's say, the company. You release, your new game and just blows up overnight. All of a sudden, you're getting calls from every major developer, all of a sudden blows up. Is this something that you can see, going full-time then, kind of quitting the job and doing the marketing?
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing I'm going to do is high-five Ben and hug him and say, you did it, man. that's what's going to happen. But no, definitely. If Ben came to me tomorrow and said, hey, let's get you in full time, absolutely, I would do this full time. And it's not.
So it's fun.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. We're going to be doing videos too. We were discussing this last night. We're going to be doing more playtest videos. So, I guess more Let's Plays.
Yeah.
for each one. So I need to get started on Lunacy actually. But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun job. I think anybody else that you would talk to, let's say somebody major like Larry Erb from Xbox or Major Nelson, whatever his name is, he's going to say the same thing. He absolutely loves it, and it's a fun job.
So that actually does bring me to your first game that has been released. It's available on mobile. I actually downloaded it yesterday, played a little bit of it, loved it. It was fantastic. I love the kind of the theme, almost the feeling of, you know, the story. You know what? Here it is. It's the story of the gameplay. Well, the game is called Lunacy, and you take control of Cthulhu, and you're riding on a ship, and the way you move up and down is you move the moon closer and further away from the Earth, which causes the water to rise and lower, and you collect coins and avoid missiles. I mean, just that right there, just the elevator pitch, if you will, of the gameplay. I love that. I mean, it's really creative. How did you come up with the idea of using the moon as a gameplay mechanic?
So actually, that's one of the few games out of all of them that we're doing, the slew of that we have, you know, that I actually didn't do the lead design on. I actually went to DU for the Global Game Jam back in December. And so I jumped on with the team, which is actually the first time I wasn't in control of a game jam. So it was kind of cool to jump on a group and be like, hey, I'm not leading everything this time. So I got involved with these really cool guys at DU, Denver University here. And they were like, hey, man, we got this idea. And then we all kind of worked together. I did some art on it at the initial stage of it, you know, just to help out. And then I was like, guys, we have this awesome physics-based game, right, that's super fun to play. It's straightforward. It's awesome. Let's just keep going with it. So I said, jump on with us. We'll, help out with art. We'll help out with marketing. We'll do all these things. So we merged together and kind of joined forces to do that. And so actually, the lead on there, Brock Soicher from DU, he's really awesome lead on the project. He took it and ran with it, and David Donnelly. So those two guys stuck on with it. And we were able to get it done. So and so they were actually leading the design. I was in control of the end creative direction, as far as like what the final step would be. But I kind of let them just run with it, and then I got our artists on to help fix it up. So Lunacy was one of those games where I was like, guys, like, this is the winner, I can see it, so let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's start off with another game. Just you already did all this work, right? I mean, you have a good product, run with that. So
who came up with the story then? You said you were helping with the creative things. Did you also help with the story? Did you?
Yes.
What was your involvement with that?
So when I got in with the team there, we worked together to create the idea of the story. They David Donnelly and actually a couple of other guys in the list there from the credits, they were part of the story design for it. So I worked with the art side of it when I was initially working on the game jam. So they actually came up with the story, the first night. So yeah.
Gotcha. And then, do you feel like you're going to bring that kind of art style to your other games? There's going to be kind of a, like when you look at certain companies and their games, you can kind of see a similar art style, even if the graphics are completely different. Do you feel like you're going to bring that into the other games, or you want each game to kind of stand out on its own artistically, or how do you see that translating to your other games?
For us, our theme, with having each game is a unique experience. As you can see across all of our games that we offer, they all have unique looks and styles. So our kind of direction is to go more unique rather than having everything look similar in a style. So because I want every game to stand on its own in a way. So, but for that game, Lunacy is going to continue to get more content out. It's going to continue to get worked on it and releases in the future. So, each game I want to have its own life, right? It's like that game, it's its own thing there, and it kind of its own brand, by itself in a way. So
absolutely,
yeah, we still got a lot more coming for Literacy.
As far as like levels or DLC or sequel even, what can we expect to see?
Yeah, so we'll have levels, more levels coming out. We're actually doing a new version of the game with revamped a little bit on the art style, so it's going to look really nice from the artist Casey Harris. She's a really awesome, solid lead on it. So we're going to do that initially, but we're also releasing on Apple this weekend. So we're going to be out on the iOS and then the Apple platforms there, and then so Amazon fully getting that done. So we just have them all out there, and then we're going to be releasing content to come. So over the summer, we're going to have 5 more levels being added, and then we're just going to be continuing to make new things. So assets you can get, skins you can get, new upgrades, all kinds of things.
So the game is Lunar Sea. It's available right now on the Android market, and it will come to iOS later this weekend. I mean, I downloaded it. It's a fantastic game, a lot of fun to play, very simple mechanics. And then do you have a PC release as well?
Yeah, so it's actually Steam. We're actually on the green light there, so you can go support it there. You can also go on Game Jolt, and then Amazon. The Amazon platforms, it'll be coming to that too. So it should be getting published by the end of the weekend.
And is it going to stay free to play on the PC?
Yeah, on the PC it'll be free to play, and then on the mobile platforms we'll just have more of the in-app purchases that you can do if you want to. So it's going to have more of a focus on upgrades there. That will be through the Google Android platform and also iOS. So.
All right, so I have one final question. Now, this one's a total surprise. Did not talk about this at all before we started this interview. Complete surprise, but it is extremely important. It is possibly the most important question I've ever asked. What are your feelings on Mario Party? Good or bad? I need to. We need to end this war. Me and Tristan and I, we've been arguing about this. We've been fighting about this. Blood has been spilled. One is saying that Mario Party is good. One is saying that Mario Party is bad. I'm trying to recruit people on my side, but I'm not going to tell you what my side is. But I'm trying to recruit people on my side. How do you guys feel about Mario Party? Benjamin, you go first.
Mario Party, I really like as a good drinking game. And I'll give you some advice. If you're gonna do it, do not do it with anything heavy and hoppy. Okay, don't do that, because I did that one time. Only have really light beer when you do that, because otherwise it's bad news. Because you end up getting really drinking too much of that stuff, the heavy beer. Always go light beer when you do that. So
you would say then that it's a good game?
Yeah,
or bad?
I would say it's a good game. It's as far as bringing people together. I'm definitely more of a single game player. I'm more of what I like to do is delve myself into the story of a game, and so I'm not as much of a multiplayer focused person. But in order to get people together, it's really cool, as far as social gaming goes. If you have people locally, I think, hanging out with you, then it really makes it a good game. Right. But as far as just having it on my own and playing against a computer, it doesn't really have as much life. With that.
All right, Dave, how do you feel about it?
Ben already stole my answer, so I got to find a way to one-up it. For me, I was going to say, hand me a couple beers and some drinks. We'll make a drinking game out of it. It's a great way to just, you could have a party and play video games and not have to worry about anyone being like, oh, you're playing video games. What is this, at a party? And I could say, I think I've had you at the house before, Josh, playing Super Smash Brothers.
So, those are fun days, man. Those are fun days.
So any game that can be used as a party game is good on my end. It could be Pokemon Party. You know what I mean? And whatever. I'll play it.
So, guys, thank you so much, seriously, for coming on and talking and giving us a little bit more insight, because everybody, I definitely don't want to belittle your company. It's a small operation. It is a small fish in a big ocean. But I think that games that are made by smaller companies have way more heart. They have, way more creativity, because they're not governed by stockholders and all these people. So, I think more attention needs to be brought to smaller game companies who are making art. You guys are artists, and you're putting yourselves out there, and I admire that. The company is Live in the Game. The game is Lunar Sea, and it's definitely something you guys should check out. Again, thank you so much, Ben. Thank you so much, David, for hanging out with me. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks,
man.
Josh. Yeah, it was great.